Welcome to the Flourish Academy podcast. My name is Heather Lottinen, and I'm joined by my good friend and co-host Mara Chick. We believe everyone can be successful in any endeavor they pursue, whether it's personal or professional. By constantly nourishing your mind reading books, you can impart wisdom and tactics into your life and business. In this podcast, we will be discussing the books that have impacted us and share actionable strategies at the end of each episode to help you succeed.
Essentially, we're reading for you. How great is that? So sit back, relax while we discuss all these awesome books. I think we're going to wrap up today our discussion on Your Best Year Ever by Michael Hyatt. We are jumping straight into chapter 8 on page 128. And Michael starts talking about distinctions with a difference. And Heather touched on this in the last episode about achievement goals and habit goals. So I just want to read this to you. Achievement goals are focused on one-time accomplishments. They might target paying off your credit cards, hitting a financial benchmark, or finishing writing a novel. It's essential that achievement goals include deadlines. Habit goals, on the other hand, involve regular ongoing activities such as a daily meditation practice, a monthly coffee date with a friend, or walking each day after lunch. There's no deadline because you're not trying to accomplish just one thing. You're trying to maintain a practice. Instead, there's a start date, which triggers initiation. So Heather does that a lot she does that with her walking that she does every day.
Yes.
And she touched on that. So I just wanted to read that to you because there is a distinction between achievement goals, which are what most of us set, versus habit goals.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Okay, here's an example here about reading books, which you and I both have goals around reading books. He says an achievement goal would be read 50 books this year by December 31st. But a habit goal would be read 45 minutes each evening at 8 p.m. beginning immediately. How do you structure your book reading goal?
Okay, I do it just like he does. So I say I do have a goal of I want to read, I actually think it's 60 books this year because I'm actually already over 60 books. Catch up with me, okay? You're slacking.
Okay.
Okay, are you going to use the excuse that you have kids?
I am.
Okay, that excuses are lies. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm turning it around on her because that's what she does.
That's great.
And then I have the same thing every night. And it's true, every night before I go to bed, I have to read. Even if I'm dead tired, I have to read at least 10 pages. But most of the time I'm reading for a couple hours before I go to bed. Right. But yeah, I do that. Is that how you do it? Or
mine is both the same way. So I say 52 books a year, book a week. And my minimum is 10 minutes a day. That's the minimum. Again, like you, I say at least 10 minutes or 10 pages a day. But usually it's more than that. And for me, it's right before bed. And sometimes it does put me to sleep.
I know. All right. And then there's one thing we want to touch on chapter 9. And Heather is going to read that now.
Okay, chapter 9, where he says, seriously, risk is your friend. And he has this quote from Jack Welch that reads, by reaching for what appears to be impossible, we often actually do the impossible. And even when we don't quite make it, we inevitably wind up doing much better than we would have done. So he's encouraging us to take risks and push ourselves with what we refer to as stretch goals because we don't like the word risk.
I don't like risk. Heather is very risk averse.
I am risk averse.
Okay, as we talked before, Michael has this book broken out into steps. And step 4 is finding your why. And we're just going to jump straight into chapter 10 on page 152. And he starts this section by saying, the myth of fun, fast, and easy. It says, everything important requires work, and sometimes there is a long arc between the dream and its realization. Some of us are more prepared to accept this than others. In her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, Brene Brown blames our reluctance on the culture of fun, fast, and easy. We are conditioned to want results now, tomorrow at the very latest. We want it without expending a lot of effort, and of course we must have fun doing it, otherwise we are on to the next thing. But other than a few lucky exceptions, most payoffs are not immediate. Unmet by the instant success we expect, we can lose heart and give up. We talked about this a lot when we discussed the compound effect, because we live in an insta society. Like, I want everything now. I have had people message me on my business page and say, what are your prices for this? Can you do this? And I'm not on checking my messages every day.
Right.
And I didn't respond to her in 24 hours and she sent me a nasty message back because I didn't get back to her right away. And I thought, is that the society we're living in now?
Yes. Instant.
if I'm not, like, I remember back in the day when they had to mail things to people, they had couriers running all over the place. I was like, can I have 48 hours to respond to your message?
And you had to be patient. Yeah.
Yeah. So we do get very complacent.
So
and
make sure you're patient is the bottom line here.
Things are not happening overnight. You can't say, okay, I'm going to go from making 20 grand to 100 grand in 3 months time.
Right. Make it realistic. So, just stay the course. Okay. That's good advice.
Yeah. Don't get impatient with that kind of stuff. Okay.
Also in chapter 10 on page 158, he talks about record and prioritize your key motivations. Essentially ask yourself what's at stake. He writes, key motivations is a series of bullets and usually end up with somewhere between 5 and 7 for each goal. I recommend listing each one until you run out. After that, you'll want to prioritize them. But that's not all. I recommend identifying your top 3. Okay, so essentially what he's saying is, why do you have this goal? What is your motivation behind it? So I have a great example of this. I am on the treadmill 7 days a week, 30 minutes every morning. My goal is not to lose weight. I am currently at my ideal weight, so that's not what my goal is. My key motivator, okay, the goal is to get on the treadmill, but the key motivator is for stamina, energy, and ultimately productivity. I'm doing it as an exercise in self-discipline to build my self-esteem. So all of those factors, that's what drives me every single morning to get up and get on that treadmill. I also watch a lot of business and motivational videos or listen to things while I'm on the treadmill, and I really look forward to that. So I'm edifying my mind as I'm exercising my body. Now, if the goal was to lose weight, and that's a fine goal to have, there's still something that's driving that. There's a different type of motivator other than just lose weight. And for me, it was like, I figured out that energy begets energy. And I wanted more energy because I wanted to be more productive because I wanted to do more. And so I tied that to getting on the treadmill. And that's
aren't you fancy?
But it took me years to figure that out, that was the motivator, that it wasn't about losing weight because I was at my ideal weight. I didn't need to lose weight. It was about the energy and the stamina.
The one thing I think people use as their motivator a lot is money. And I think money is the wrong motivator to have. And, I run, by my definition, a very successful business. Money has never been my motivator. My motivation is to change women's lives by whatever means necessary. I use my photography. I use my self-love practice inside of my business. Like, I have 2 totally different businesses, but they all have the same motivation to impact women's lives. So that is what drives me every single day. Even this podcast, you wouldn't think oh, I'm here motivating and inspiring women, but maybe I am.
I think you are. And you know what? I, for one, am very glad that money is not your motivator because we're not getting paid for this. So
this is free. We are actually losing money.
We are actually paying.
We are paying to do this. Wait a minute. So we're not. Remember when we call ourselves geniuses? This is not very genius. But money is not why we do what we do.
Right. Good thing. It's a byproduct. Yeah. So you're making money as a result of your vision. Absolutely.
Yes. Awesome. Okay, we're gonna jump to chapter 12 or 13. 12 or 13?
I think it's 12. It's page 179.
179. Okay. So, success is your social circle. Okay, now if you listened, which if you haven't, you better go right now and listen to our series from Big Potential by Sean Acor. Great book. Just to touch really quick, Michael Hyatt says, we have a very powerful myth in our culture, the myth of the self-made man or woman. But let's be honest, there's no such thing. Success requires help, and usually lots of it. It's impossible to discount the influence of our social circle. Okay, so it is very important to have people around you that are going to help you, motivate you, pick you up when times are rough, be there to be your cheerleader. You need people. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. You are not. It's I had a lot of people by my side as I'm building up this business. You were there. My husband was there. I didn't do it alone. And I don't ever profess to be I did it all on my own.
No. This is actually something I struggled with very early on as an entrepreneur because I was naive and young and I didn't understand. I really created my own island. I really was so determined to figure this out on my own. What an idiot.
Yeah,
That was
geez.
really not smart. And luckily I corrected course pretty quickly and figured out that I did in fact need people. I'm just very independent and I don't like to depend on anyone, but that's not what this is about.
Right.
This is just about lifting everyone up.
Having everyone support each other, because that's very important. We're not saying all these people are going to work in your business, because
Right.
you are still ultimately responsible for what you're doing, but you are going to need a support system and people there to be with you. I mean, Heather's not working in my business every day, but she is there all the time when I'm
We bounce
emotional.
ideas,
Yeah, we're
for
always
sure.
talking, and we brainstorm together,
Right.
and it's great.
And that's because iron sharpens iron. But iron doesn't sharpen just by itself without the other piece of iron. So you can't be an island. You have to have a community around you.
Yes. Awesome. Okay, so we are going to move straight to chapter 13.
I think so.
Yes, page 195. And just one thing I want to touch on super quick here is Michael says this: the most important aspect of making it happen is practicing the art of the start. You don't have to see the end from the beginning. In fact, you can't if your goal is big enough. And the good news is that you don't need to. All you have to see is the next step. Any goal is manageable, one action at a time. I think we get so overwhelmed, and especially when we're creating stretch goals, we're like, wow, that is super big.
Too big.
But we're not supposed to see the end in sight. If you already see the end, it's too small of a
Right.
goal. So, I think back to, was that last year or the year before? I was like, we'll do like 60 boudoirs. And I think I already had like 45 in the book. So it was a no-brainer that I was going to get to 60. I already saw the end in sight. So it was not big enough.
Right.
So now I've learned.
Yeah.
But it's a process, and you need step-by-step actions
And you have to
get
start.
you there.
You have to do something. And Michael Hyatt is friends with John Acuff, and we read his book Start.
Yes.
It's literally
one of my
called
favorites. Start.
You just have to start and do something. And what is that old adage? You don't have to see it was Abraham Lincoln that said you don't have to see the entire staircase. You just have to see the next step. So just take the next step and the next step, and then
the next
ultimately
step.
you'll
And
get
it
there.
ultimately all
Right.
comes into view for you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Heather, do you want to take page 220?
Yeah. Yes, on page 220, he's talking about making it happen and reviewing your goals. So quarterly, if you write your goals, it doesn't matter if you write your goals for the quarter or for the year, but you should be reviewing them quarterly. And he says in the quarterly review process, you want to look at least 5 options that are possible for each goal. So as you're looking at your goals, you want to do one of the following. Number 1, rejoice, which would mean, okay, you're hitting it. Number 2, recommit, because maybe you've slacked off. Number 3, revise, like I've had to do, revise goals. Number 4, remove. It's just not the right time for it. Or number 5, replace, and that's making it completely different. And I think that's really important. My favorite especially is rejoice, because that means that you're hitting it.
Oh, hallelujah.
But I'm either rejoicing or I'm revising. I'm thinking, okay, was it the wrong? Oh, I read somewhere once that there's no such thing as bad goals, only bad time frames. So maybe it was the goal was fine, but maybe the time frame was unrealistic. Maybe it didn't fit into that particular season in my life, based on when the kids are home in the summer versus when they're in school. And so you need to look at all of those factors, but you need to review them quarterly so that you can course correct and ensure your success in the future. Do you do that? Do you look at your goals?
Yeah,
Well,
I
you
do.
look at them daily.
I look at them
Yeah,
daily.
yeah.
But so what I like to do is when I reach a goal, I have a celebration, like what am I going to do to celebrate this goal? So it has me like reaching for something. So when I hit that goal, I'm going to go have a huge spa day for myself,
Oh,
or
nice.
just something like fun.
Good idea.
I like to celebrate that way. Or buy myself a designer handbag, so whatever. But sometimes then when I get there and I'm like, wait, you want $2,500 for that bag?
Oh gosh.
I'm like,
have you ever done that I have never.
what?
in my
Heather,
life.
I have a whole collection of designer handbags.
What? I find that utterly ridiculous.
You're utterly ridiculous. You just don't know fashion.
I have never spent more than $39 on
Oh,
purse.
come on. Get off it. Are you serious?
Yeah, I just buy them from Macy's or from Marshall's or something, and they're cute purses, but I have never, I know that designer handbags are a thing. I know that because I've heard this kind of on the periphery, but that's just never been my thing, and quite frankly, I'm glad because it's a lot of cash you're carrying around.
It is a lot of cash.
Wow.
I walk in there and I'm like, oh, that's beautiful, but sometimes now, okay, Mara pre-mortgage.
Okay, all right.
I have a lot of versions of Mara. Mara pre-mortgage was like, hey, I'll just throw my money at that handbag. That's great. And you know, they always give you the whole like, this is going to be a vintage bag in 30 years and you're going to make all your money back from. I'm like, what? Okay, whatever.
All right, listen, I'm going to go all Dave Ramsey. A bag is not an investment.
I know, it's not.
It's not a strategy
I know.
to become wealthy to buy a bag. Go to Marshall's, get a $39 handbag, and guess what?
But I don't buy them anymore.
Okay,
I haven't
good.
bought one in a long
Because
time.
guess
But
what?
I have all the ones that I bought previously. That
You can change them out. I can change
cycle them out.
Yeah, every season.
I cycle mine out too.
Yeah, but don't you feel like you have to continue to use them over many years to get your money's worth?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Woo! Yeah,
Whatever.
I don't understand that. We got totally sidetracked by the designer.
I know. Maybe this is what our Patreon episodes will be like because we're just talking about
us arguing about something. But your point was, and it's a valid one, which is to rejoice and celebrate and maybe give yourself something like fun, like a spa day or something that you do for yourself. Yeah.
Or I'll go out to dinner at like this really fancy restaurant that I like. You know, just little things like that that I'm looking forward to and saying like, good job, Mara. Because I think we forget to say that to ourselves. We earn, like, if you're stretching yourself far enough with your goals, like, and you hit it, like, you deserve to get some recognition from that. And no one else is going to give you recognition but yourself, okay?
I love it.
Okay.
Pat yourself on the back.
Yep, I'm going to pat my, here, high five, Mara, boom, and we're going to go out to dinner. And maybe if my husband's lucky, I'll bring him along too.
If he's lucky enough. That's great.
So, as we wrap up this book, I mean, this is a great book. If you are new to goal setting or want a refresher, like, this is just a super great book. Easy read to kind of get through to start your year off right. As we approach the end of the year, I know we have a couple months left, but I want you to start thinking about your goals for next year. And hey, you can even start goals for the last few months of the year and look have the last quarter goals. But next year, I really want you guys using the SMARTER system for your business, personal, spiritual, relationship goals. And I want you identifying 3 goals per area using the SMARTER system.
Oh, good question. Total number of goals. Total number across all areas. I try to not do more than my sweet spot's 12 to 15 because I feel like if I have like 8 per like area, I'm overwhelmed and I can't focus. But if I can like zero in on 1 or 3 things like per, I've heard 7 to 10.
7 to 10.
Yeah, because you get overwhelmed.
You get overwhelmed. But you know, I feel like I'm setting goals that, like my habit goals with my husband and things like that. So those like sometimes don't count as goals because that should just be life.
And it's ongoing.
It's ongoing.
Yeah.
But like, so my achievement goals, my one-time goals are usually, I would say they're about 10. Okay. And then habit goals, somewhere in like the 2 to 5 range there. So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening and following along this book with us. Heather, how can everyone support this awesome, super informative, helpful, encouraging, inspiring, free podcast?
Make sure you subscribe and leave a review. Reviews help, and share it with your friends. That would really help. If you would share it with your friends and maybe talk about what it meant to you, that would be helpful to us. If you would prefer to watch this on video, you can go to Flourish.Academy. That redirects you to YouTube, which you should also subscribe to. And if you want to purchase this book, Best Year Ever by Michael Hyatt, or any of the books we discussed, please use our Amazon affiliate link. It helps to offset the cost of the podcast.
Wow. Okay, we're wrapping up. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll catch you next time on the Flourish Academy podcast.